Hey fellas, Coach Lasker here. Wanted to tell you about some pretty awesome tools we've been creating for you coaches. If you've watched this channel over the last few years, the goal was always to provide resources to underpaid, underappreciated volunteer coaches. Even the high school coaches that may be getting a stipend are really doing it for the love of the game. And that mission has not changed. I've been working on a new way to enable coaches through technology. I wanted to give you guys a look at our new tool that was specifically created for offensive coordinators, quarterback coaches, or really anyone who coaches quarterbacks in general. Playerbook is a virtual quarterback training platform that is optimized for the mobile phone. Yes, you don't need to have VR goggles or headsets, these big chunky things. You don't need to ask kids to come to you in some building at some warehouse far away or your house. They have virtual training on their phones, and they can do it from the comfort of their own homes. And we all know phones at this point are just an extension of all of us. We might joke and say teens are connected to their phones, but in reality, all of us are at this point. We created a way for offensive coaches to easily use our game-based learning platform to teach, test, and analyze their QBs like never. Our platforms give coaches a few specific tools to help you communicate and teach players. For every single virtual repetition, as a coach, you have the ability to add and play multimedia videos. Okay. So depending on the situation, you might want to have a 10-second video, or in some situations, coaches have 2-minute videos where they're deeply explaining the why behind the scenario. In some scenarios, coaches don't want any videos playing. They simply want to just get virtual repetition after virtual repetition. Another function that we have that coaches are taking advantage of that no other playbook solution has are pre-snap variables or pre-snap keys. So we have already programmed in the system 6 of the most commonly used pre-snap keys from around the country. We've been polling you guys for a year, and we picked the 6 most common. Things like, is a cornerback hard or soft? Middle of field open or closed? But at this point, you have 6 to choose from. You can opt them all on or all off or just one on or 3. We're all different. Another great function that we have are our scenarios. Now, think of this as the plays, for lack of a better term, because scenario for us is much bigger than that. But for most people that are used to using these static, boring, two-dimensional playbooks like Huddle and Just Play, in Playerbook, scenarios are defined as play versus coverage, plus field position, plus down and distance. That's how we define a scenario within Playerbook. This is how we feel you should be teaching your athlete the game. This is how the game is played. Your playbook will be comprised of scenarios where you decide which receiver in specific scenarios should be thrown to. Then you get detailed reporting on how they performed, selecting pre-snap keys and post-snap decision-making based on your inputs. And the last piece I'll tell you about, there is a lot more, are the analytics. This is such a big part of it. Every single scenario is recorded. And so you can see the scores for every scenario by each player or as a team and get a clear sense of what you need to work on in practice. All right, so now that you've seen a few key components, check out a few ways that coaches are using it now. So the Game Time tab in the mobile app is a full-fledged video game where players drive the field, execute your game plan, they get first downs, they are being tested the whole time on keys, reads, and progressions, they're scoring points, there's leaderboards afterwards, so your players can compete against each other. It's a real fun, full-fledged video game. We also have OTAs and training camp playlists. Think of our OTA and training camp playlist as groupings of scenarios you'd like to teach at once. Quick game plays, maybe a script, or different ways coaches utilize. So OTA playlists, typically they have no videos at the beginning or very short videos at the beginning. Then the coaches will have their players rep out the concepts over and over and over to get a feel for the concept, what to expect, and just learn how the concept flows. Training camp is the why behind the concepts. Coaches have typically used this to coach a little deeper. So offensive coordinators use it to mirror their install for training camp, having longer explanations, the why behind the concepts with the head start. Or quarterback coaches use this to train the mental side of the game, coverages, hole shots, things that they don't have time to talk about during a short quarterback training session, but you want them to understand these things. This is a great way to stay connected off the field and make sure they're learning the mental side of the game. Again, we built this tool to extend your coaching power. We believe that with these initial offerings, together we can change the game of mental quarterback training forever. We're excited to see how you use the platform in your own ways with your athletes. You are going to give your kids a chance to learn the keys, reads, and progressions like never before. And for us coaches, we can now quantify playbook comprehension, specifically around the nuances of the game, which separate winning and losing. Whether you're an OC wanting to set your quarterback and team up for success, or a QB coach teaching the mental side of the game, Playbook will supercharge your coaching ability, giving you a competitive advantage.